water, earth, fire. After Avatar Korra had passed away, the mantle of the Avatar was given to another Avatar, Avatar Genji. He, in a desperate attempt to end the conflict between benders and non-benders, he started a process to make everyone a bender. However, bending protesters caught wind of this, and they saw this as an opportunity to rid the world of bending altogether. They disrupted the process that would make everybody a bender, and used it to make everybody a non-bender. Avatar Genji had left, not being able to cope with his failure. However, several years later, it was discovered that a child with the ability to glow was discovered in Japan. This was the start of quirks. Soon, the world of bending was forgotten, and the world of quirks started. Even though quirks were introduced and bending had disappeared, the Avatar would not disappear, and a new Avatar would take up the mantle in the form of Izuku Midoriya. This is his story. Previously on What If Deku Was the Avatar, Izuku starts his journey as a nervous boy who just got his brand new power. He mistakes his bending abilities as a quirk, as well as everyone else in his life. His rivalry with Bakugo begins, if you can call it a rivalry. Deku is way stronger than Bakugo, and even he knows it, so he stopped being friends with Bakugo. He grew up spending most of his time training, and with this training he was able to easily pass the entrance exam and the surprise quirk assessment test made by Shota Aizawa, aka Eraserhead. He would make friends at UA as long as have a showdown with Bakugo in a brand new suit. He would easily win, and he would be left to reevaluate how he had been treating Bakugo. He would even go as far as to go to Bakugo and ask him what happened to their friendship. The next day, the media would come to UA High and try and get to talk to All Might, which would cause a seemingly false alarm, which was quickly stopped by the class president, Deku. Later, the cause of the security system activating would be revealed, as several mysterious figures had come to their school. It's up to Deku and the rest of his class to figure out what is going on. Everyone is panicking. They look to their teacher and ask, "What's going on? I thought you said this was rescue exercise." Aizawa responds, "I did. This isn't part of the training. Those are real villains." These words shocked everybody to their core. If these were real villains, they were in serious trouble. 13, you take care of the students and I'll handle these villains, said Mr. Aizawa. "Wait, your fighting style's not suited for this. You're better suited for one-on-one fights," said Deku. "If you want to be a hero, you can't just have one trick up your sleeve," said Aizawa before he jetted from the stairs and then started beating down on the rest of the villains. Despite his efforts, the Kurogiri, the Black Fog villain, had made it to the class and introduced himself.
"Hello there, children. We are the League of Villains, and we've come here to put an end to All Might, the symbol of peace."
The students were afraid before, they definitely were now. Some were afraid, some were appalled that they would even think of killing All Might. Others were doubtful that they had a plan that could actually kill All Might. But two spiky-haired boys decided to react differently than the rest, and they jumped in front of 13 while she was trying to prepare an attack. Bakugo went in for an explosion attack, and Kirishima hardened his body to land a devastating blow, but they both went directly through the Black Fog villain. "What? Move!" shouted 13, but it was too late. Kurogiri had already begun his attack and decided to split up the class.
"Prepare to be scattered around this facility,"
said Kurogiri in a now menacing tone. Izuku was too caught off guard to do anything. But he didn't have to do anything. He landed in the water zone. Once he fell into the water, dozens of aquatic-based villains started swarming at him. Izuku snapped himself out of shock and created a whirlpool that distorted all the aquatic villains. Then he launched himself to a nearby boat that he saw, where Suyu and Mineta had already happened to be.
Midoriya, I was going to save you, but you look like you didn't need too much help,
said Suyu. I appreciate the effort. Asui.
I told you to call me Sue.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry, Sue. What are we gonna do, Midoriya? Sue, what's going on? Those villains, they said they were gonna kill All Might. How? That'd be laughable if this was a laughable situation to be in.
I'm not too sure about that. If they spent so much time planning this attack, they probably figured out a way to kill him,
said Sue. This did not reassure the boys that were with her, but a light bulb in Midoriya's head went off. Wait, Sue, your quirk pretty much makes you a frog, so why did they bring you to this area?
I don't know.
Come to think of it, why aren't these villains attacking us? They clearly outnumber us. Why aren't they attacking? They don't know what our quirks are. You're right. For all they know, we could be incredibly powerful. But that gives us a slight advantage. We have time, but that's not gonna last long. Midoriya was instantly correct as one of the villains started attacking the boat. It didn't hurt the kids, but it would sink the boat in a matter of minutes. The three instantly started talking about quirks and what their abilities were. After Mineta explains his quirk, he starts crying and saying, I'm totally useless in this situation, and you two know it. Midoriya, in a second of desperation, froze the water where the villains were residing. They were trapped and struggling to get out. This bought them another few minutes before they could be attacked. Sue, grab Mineta and go to shore. I can hold off these villains for a little bit.
Okay, Midoriya,
said Sue before she grabbed Mineta and leaped all the way to shore. Midoriya was using his water bending to surf himself to shore while holding off the villains. When Midoriya makes it to shore, he's there in time to see Aizawa fighting Shigaraki. At first, he was doing a good job, but once he wasn't able to use his quirk anymore, Shigaraki was able to do significant damage to his elbow.
Don't push yourself too hard now, Eraserhead. You might just fall apart,
said Shigaraki in a very, very ominous tone. He backs away from Eraserhead and then commands Nobu to slam his face into the ground. And with that, the sleep-deprived teacher was down for the count. Midoriya and the rest were horrified to see their homeroom teacher being destroyed by a villain. It didn't even seem to be a villain. It seemed to just be a monster. Kurogiri came up to Shigaraki and reported the unfortunate news that All Might had not arrived yet.
But it said that he was supposed to be here.
I know. We must have made a mistake.
Kurogiri, fool. I ought to disintegrate you where you stand. But you're our way out of here.
It may not be great that All Might's not here yet, but I can still wreck his pride, said Shigaraki before charging at the students near the shore. The students were horrified to find a real-life villain about to kill them, so they were frozen. They couldn't do anything. Midoriya realized that he was going for Sue, and then remembered his quirk. When he touched Aizawa's elbow, it disintegrated. If that touched Sue, it would end her life. He couldn't do anything. He was still too scared. But when Shigaraki's hand touched Sue's face, nothing happened.
You really are so cool, aren't you, Eraserhead?
The students were confused until they looked back at their homeroom teacher, using his quirk. This was short-lived, as Aizawa's head was yet again slammed into the floor. Izuku had no choice. The time to act was now.
He leaped from the water, bending the water he had just leaped from, attempting to whip Shigaraki with the water he was now bending. He threw the water, and also trying to freeze Shigaraki. But in a flash, the Nomu that had defeated their homeroom teacher was in front of Deku.
You know, heroes really tick me off. But at the end of the day, you're all the same. You're all idiots who wear costumes and pretend they can save anybody. With so many heroes that are like that, I don't think we need too much anymore. Don't you agree, Nomu? Kill him.
Nomu grabbed Deku's arm before he could react.
Crap, 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 crap,
thought Izuku. Nomu was about to rip his other arm off when the doors flew open. Everyone paused and looked towards the entrance of the USJ. It was All Might. Don't worry, everybody. I am here, declared All Might in a booming voice before charging down the stairs and destroying several villains.
Looks like the final boss has arrived,
said Shigaraki in an almost excited tone. After All Might had dealt with several villains, he went over to Nomu and they engaged in a hand-to-hand brawl until Kirigiri showed up and teleported half of All Might's body into one area, with the other in another portal. This was to distort All Might so he couldn't figure out what was going on, while Nomu would just destroy All Might, tearing him in half. This would have worked. This would have worked if Todoroki hadn't come. The Nomu was frozen and started to fall apart, and All Might took this opportunity to rip Nomu off of him and then jump from Kurogori's portal. All the kids gathered around and grabbed Aizawa. Midoriya ran to heal Aizawa's wounds using his water bending, so he won't be as damaged as in canon. Alright, take Aizawa and get out of here. Excuse me, All Might, said Todoroki. But you would have been killed if it weren't for us. Especially me. Bakugo just glared at Todoroki. I thank you for that, young Todoroki, but this is too dangerous for you. The students decide to listen to All Might and sit out the fight. All Might and Nomu fight similarly to how they fought in canon. All Might in My What If has not passed down One for All yet, so he is not as weak as in canon. After the Nomu is defeated, All Might looks to Shigaraki and says, "Let's wrap this up, okay, villain?" Shigaraki is doing what can only be described as raging, but Kirigiri reassures him. Shigaraki, do not fret. Our underlings are recovering. We still have a chance to beat All Might. He is clearly weakened and worn out from his fight with Nomu.
You're right, Kirigiri.
Hey,
All Might, I'll take you up on your offer. Let's finish this.
Kirigiri and Shigaraki start charging at All Might with lightning speed. All Might flinches and is unable to dodge as they start attacking. Seeing his idol unable to defend himself against villains, pushes Midoriya into the Avatar state. He creates an air scooter and then quickly breathes fire to stop the villains from attacking, and then creates a massive cyclone trapping the villains, putting everyone in awe as they were unaware Midoriya was capable of manifesting such power. He then forces the two villains back with airbending, and then tries to trap them with earthbending. It seemed to have worked for a few seconds, but Kurogiri had realized this fight was far from winnable, and transports Shigaraki away. Midoriya, thank you, but I told you I had it under control, All Might said as he put his hand on his shoulder, but was instantly shocked when Midoriya looked back at him. Midoriya's eyes were pure white and glowing. However, Midoriya just passed out after hearing those words. Moments later, the authorities, along with reinforcements, had arrived. They took care of the remaining villains and questioned a bit of the school about the villain attack. 13, All Might, Aizawa, and Deku had to be rushed to the hospital as they seemed to be injured severely. Izuku wasn't as injured as the rest, but him passing out so suddenly after using so much power was a bit alarming. Aizawa would be given an all clear the following night as Izuku's waterbending had healed him earlier. 13 was a different story. She would take a lot of time to recover, unfortunately. Unknown to all of Class 1A, All Might would need as much treatment as 13 because of his injury that no one knows about. After a few hours, Izuku had woken up. Recovery Girl would say, "Ah, you're awake, boy." Thank goodness. You gave everybody quite a scare. What? What happened? Villains attacked the USJ. They were attacking All Might. All Might was a little more injured than he expected, so he didn't expect the attack coming. But you rushed in there, using a lot of power, mind you. And it seems the overexertion made you pass out. Midoriya was shocked that he used so much power and was able to take down 2 villains in one go. But he was more surprised that he didn't remember much of it. It was foggy. The class rushed in there. "Izuku! Izuku!" said Ochako. Are you okay?" "Cool it, round face. He's fine," said Bakugo with his usual anger. "So what they said was true?" said Deku. "Villains really did attack the USJ and I beat them?" "Yeah, you nerd. You stole my thunder," said Bakugo. Sorry, Gachan. I didn't mean to." "I didn't see it for myself, but you did a really awesome job, Deku," said Uraraka. "Well, I did see it for myself. That was awesome," said Mineta. "If that villain didn't teleport away, you probably would have beat them." Midoriya was shocked to hear of these actions that he barely even remembered. "But that'll be all, everyone," said Recovery Girl. "I still need to do some diagnostics to make sure Izuku's 100% fine." The class obliged begrudgingly and left the room. A few days later, when class was allowed to be in session again, Class 1A wondered who their new teacher was going to be. They thought it couldn't be Aizawa because he had taken a lot of damage, despite Midoriya healing and the healing of Recovery Girl. But to everybody's shock, he was there, in fewer bandages than in canon, but he still looked pretty bandaged up. "Aizawa, do you think you can teach today? You've taken a lot of damage after the attack," said Izuku. "It's fine. I can manage this class just fine," said Aizawa. "Now, let's talk about the UA Sports Festival." That's all the time I have for today, boys and girls. My school's doing this weird thing where they're messing with the scheduling. It's probably because they're trying to put kids back in school, which is probably not a good idea until they get better vaccinations. But that's the story for another time. So I'll see y'all next time. And this outro wasn't really too scripted, so yeah. I'm sorry it's been so long. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you enjoyed this latest installment of Avatar Deku.